So we then we said, okay, let's do another, not a light content poll, let's do another kind of poll. So we did a poll on women and brands. And we talked to women, and we found out what kind of brands do they admire. So the conclusion was, women, what was the story? Women women buy Mutumba clothes. Imagine the irony. They go to Mutumba clothes, but when they want to drive a car, they aspire to drive a RAV4 or a Prado or whatever. So you're seeing a lady driving a Prado, very expensive car, but just know she's wearing Mutumba clothes. Now that story again hit, it was a very interesting story. I even got an email from your organization, Neil, asking for the report. Again, the feedback was, this report on women and brands we believe, but the political opinion polls we don't believe. So why are Kenyans? So I think we got into a discussion where there was a lot of content, and we went on with we even did a story on cancer screening, whether people are being screened for cancer, and the story was really sad. Less than 15 or 20% of Kenyans, it's only less than 10% have gone for screening. Men under over 40, less than 5% have gone for cancer screening. And some of this content began to be discussed on air. Then at some point we stopped, we took a break from opinion polling. However, the same people who hate us for opinion polls started saying, why aren't you releasing an opinion poll, political opinion poll? Anyway, we've also had collaboration with KEPSA. We're actually doing business surveys with them, and this information is used by business leaders to inform strategy. The other thing we came up with that was very innovative is that we decided to take a break from political opinion polling and engage the stakeholders. We then wrote a letter to the various presidential aspirants, and we invited them to come to Ipsos Innovate, where we talked to them about the methodology. And we told them this quarter, there's a ceasefire. We are not releasing a political opinion poll. We did get presidential aspirants coming to our office. I will not say who they were, but they came to our office. Actually, Alikan was telling me that he used to drive past our office and you'd see, the government cars with chase cars, and you'd see cars driving, and then there are chase cars, and all the traffic would be stopped because all the cars were driving into the Ipsos Innovate office. Remember, we sent a letter, we invited them to come to office to discuss opinion polling, and we spent like 2 hours with each one of them telling them about political opinion polls. We were the only company that has done that. So we have engaged them, telling them how we do it. Social media was a very important aspect, especially with my colleagues in the technology department. We came up with what you call an Ask Ipsos Kenya forum, where people ask us questions about opinion polls and we answer. And that actually has helped us, especially in our current, the opinion poll we released yesterday. The kind of feedback we've gotten is that there are fewer questions because we were online seated in a room and guys were asking us questions between, I think, 12 and 2 o'clock on opinion polling, and we tried to respond to as many as possible. So we have been sensitizing people about opinion polling, or political opinion polling. We are the only company that has done that. We have an SMS info. People always ask me, a phone call, hi Maggie, what are the opinion poll results again, the last one we did? I tell them. 2 days later, I get another call. So we decided, this business of I being the mouthpiece for polls is not fair. So we came up with an SMS info line where people can just send a message and they get our latest results. So again, that is an innovation that has not been done before. Okay, the other thing we've done as a company is setting up the research clubs. By the way, for you to be a researcher, there is no school that teaches you how to be a researcher. When you're recruiting, we take people who have the bare minimum in terms of academic qualifications, and then we look at their personality to decide whether they can be researchers or not. And what we decided to do as a company is begin to train young people on research. So we have research clubs in secondary schools. We go to schools, we help them set up a club, we train them on how to do research, and they do research within their school. Now, the research they do within their school should help the school management improve on the school. Now, these young people, by the way, we started about 5 years ago. I can assure you there are people in university now that have gone through our research clubs, and 4 years down the line, they want to be researchers. And the kind of studies they do are very interesting. Let me give you one before I move on to my next slide. We did a study. Okay, not we. A school did a study. And the study was basically a study on drug abuse in secondary schools. And they interviewed themselves and asked people, what kind of drugs do you abuse? And you'd imagine that the students are going to say, the drugs abused in school, which is a boarding school, is alcohol, cigarettes. That was not the case. We found out that the young people would go to the sanitarium or the clinic, and they'd say, I'm having a headache. They'd be given 2 Panadols. They would not take the medicine. They'd put it in their pocket. Day 2, they say, I'm still having a headache. Day 3, I'm still having a headache. Now they have 6 pairs of Panadols. They take the 6 pairs of Panadols, they put them in a soda bottle, they shake, and then they drink it, and that concoction gives them a high. That was drug abuse in secondary schools. Where are your painkillers in the house? Think about that. Now, would you have ever imagined that that is the level of drug abuse in a school? No. But that study was innovative in that it showed the school management some of the things that are happening. And that's what you're doing with schools. We're training them how to investigate issues within their environment. Okay, my last section is political opinion polling. I cannot leave this podium until I make a statement about this. Now, we have been polling from 2002. Initially, the way we started polling is because we used to be a member of Gallup, and then we started polling, and eventually the opinion poll culture picked up. If you're going to leave this room with any message about political opinion poll, just know that we accurately predicted the elections in the US. You know the Obama elections? Ipsos Innovate was one of the pollsters that were rated highly in terms of predicting the outcome correctly. In France, 2012. In Nigeria, imagine Nigeria. You know how bad Nigeria is? We actually did a survey that predicted the election outcome. In Kenya, we've done various referendum opinion polls, and we predict them rightly. Now, for the 2007 election, it was very clear in our polls that the difference between the two frontrunners was going to be very small. And when we published these opinion polls, politicians would say, hell no, the difference between me and my next competitor is like 20%, 30%. And our polls in 2007 were saying the gap is small. And politicians would go on a podium and say, this is a lie. But look at what happened. Regardless of who stole or who did not steal, they did not steal enough to widen the gap. That is the conclusion. So our opinion polls actually predicted that. And right now what we're predicting is that it's a close call. And sometimes I listen to people saying, you're lying, you're lying. I would not, if I saw those results, I would say, I need to work harder to increase the gap between the two. The 2000 opinion polls we did, it was evident that Kalonzo was going to be the swing, was going to generate the swing vote. And in as much as he did not go to any side, he still ended up with the 10% we predicted. Yet in all the meetings you'd say, these opinion polls are saying that I have 10% and it's a lie. He ended up with 10%. Sometimes we have to confront the brute of facts. Those are the facts. Just to show you, this is an example. This is the French election. This was round 1 and round 2. The sample size was 1,000. The sample size was 1,000. So don't ask me a question, how can you sample 2,000 people for the whole of Kenya? The sample size was 1,000, and we did right. The sample size, it doesn't matter. It's how you distribute it that matters. And then, I just want to talk a bit about opinion poll coverage on the media. This is just an example of a chart I got from the company that shows how opinion polls have been covered on the media. And you can see that in Q1 of last year, there were 1,155 stories on opinion polls. In Q2, there were 1,220 stories. Interesting. But if you look at all the articles on politics over the last 1 year, and this is the same period, January to June last year, there were 55,000 articles, stories, mentions on TV on politics. And in those stories, they usually comments of who's going to win, who's not going to win, or how it will go. There were 55,000. But out of the ones that had stories on opinion polls, political opinion polls, there were 1,530 stories. So the media also is reporting many things. Events are happening amidst all the political opinion polls that we're doing. If you look at the coverage of candidates, this is coverage on TV, radio, print, the number of stories each candidate gets. And this is just an example, January to May 2012, Raila had 18,550 stories. Uhuru had 12,000 stories. Ruto had 7,000 stories. Musalia had 7,000. If you look at that order, isn't it similar to what you're seeing in our opinion polls? This is an order of stories, coverage on the media. You can see the quantity. Now, sometimes I wonder, have the media decided which candidate they'll report more on? Maybe, food for thought. But if you look at the coverage and the level of activities, it's almost similar to our opinion polls. So as I close about opinion polls, there's already a law to regulate pollsters. We are not operating in this environment illegally. Let us start from there. The law says that we must do 1, 2, 3, 4. We are abiding by the law. So when you say ban opinion polls, it will require an amendment to the law and a whole change to the law. It may take a long time. In democracies like the US and France, I even call my colleagues in the US, and I ask them, is it as controversial as it is here? Even in the US today, a developed democracy, the public still criticizes opinion polls. And you remember the story of Romney? What did he say about political opinion polls? Does anyone remember? He said the opinion polls could not be right. They ignored them. They had their own poll that was showing that he was leading. Read that story. What happened? Can you say polls influence his outcome? No. Finally, second last thing, the Kregler report did not attribute the violence to political opinion polling. The Kregler report says that it is the interpretation that was a problem. There is nowhere where the Kregler report says that we are responsible for violence. So please do not ask me a question about whether our polls will contribute to violence. They will not. And then finally, people call me and complain about the opinion polls, and I ask them, what page of the results are you referring to? Do you have it in front of you? Do you have the report in front of you? No, I've just seen it on the paper. You guys are giving this candidate higher results. So I was like, okay, have you read the report? They haven't. So the newspaper publishes the two top line figures on the front page. Even if you look at the front page today, it's there. But on our website is the full report. How many people go to read the full report? How many people interpret the report? How many people look for insights? If you're a marketer, and I give you a report on your brand, and I say your brand is not performing well, you actually want to know why. What can I do? But when it comes to politics, you are given feedback, and you say, no, it cannot be. I think there needs to be a total culture change on interpretation of data. And thank you very much.